On my 5th wedding anniversary with Yin Tianqing, I took a special day off, decorated the house in advance, and cooked a large meal myself, wanting to give her a surprise. But she didn't come home. Later I found out that her white moonlight had returned. And the reason she didn't come home was that she went to the welcome banquet for her white moonlight. When I received Liang Huan's call, I hadn't slept all night and was sitting on the sofa smoking to stay awake. Although I was a bit listless, my mind was still clear, and I remembered that she was Yin Tianqing's best friend. I eagerly answered the phone. Hello? Sister Huan? Is there news about Qingqing? Mm. It was a bit noisy on the other end. She hesitated for a while, and finally said, Wang Lang, Qingqing is drunk. We're at Triple X. Can you come pick her up? Okay, please help me take care of Qingqing. I'll be there soon. My tone was calm, as if I didn't care at all that yesterday I had called her to ask about Yin Tianqing's whereabouts and had been hung up on. What was there to care about? She probably did that at Yin Tianqing's behest. I washed my face with cold water, tidied myself up, and left with my car keys. When I pushed open the door of the private room Liang Huan had told me about, Yin Tianqing was pulling a young boy in a uniform, trying to get him to drink. The boy, blushing, stammered, I'm sorry, we don't provide drinking services here. His naive appearance made everyone laugh, and they all jeered. It's not about drinking on the job, just having a drink with us. That's right. What are you afraid of? It won't kill you. Miss Qing is such a beauty. You're not even tempted? Hey, who's that at the door? He's handsome. Who ordered him? Thanks to my somewhat handsome face, the group of drunk people finally noticed me. Yin Tianqing followed their gaze and looked at me, squinting her eyes that were red from the alcohol, and slurred. Who let you come? She seemed a little angry, but her childish appearance and soft voice didn't make her threatening at all. It was more like she was being coy. Ignoring her resistance, I put the coat I had brought over her shoulders and then snatched the half glass of wine from her hand and drank it all. Everyone's sorry. I'll take Qingqing home first. We'll get together again, next time. Liang Huan was the first to react, waving her hand. We'll let you two off this time. You guys go first. When Qingqing sobers up, tell her that we won't let her off so easily next time. Okay, I will tell her. I responded to Yin Tianqing's friends with good temper, carried her out of the private room on my back, and took the bewildered waiter along with us. The waiter thanked me repeatedly and saw us all the way outside. Because I'd been drinking, I didn't get into the car right away and simply walked around outside with Yin Tianqing on my back. The cold wind sobered her up a bit, and she grumbled discontentedly. Walk slower, it's making me dizzy. How is that my fault? It's clearly because you drank too much. I don't care. Just walk slower. She wrapped her arms tightly around my neck, as if threatening me. I surrendered helplessly. Okay, I'll walk slower. I slowed down, and she relaxed her arms, her face resting on my shoulder, quiet as if she were asleep. After a while, I heard Yin Tianqing say, Wang Lang, he's back. We both knew who he was. I didn't speak, silently continuing forward as if I were avoiding something. After a while, Yin Tianqing leaned into my ear and whispered, Wang Lang, should we get a divorce? Her voice was very pleasant, delicate, and charming, and even these words sounded like she was acting coquettish. I never had any resistance to her coquettishness. So even though my heart felt like it had a hole in it, I still answered with a smile. Okay. Yin Tianqing and I were a typical poor boy and rich young lady combination, an unequal match that many people disapproved of back then. But Yin Tianqing was determined to marry me, and no one could dissuade her. In the end, Yin's parents compromised and granted her wish. Now we've been married for 5 years. The voices of disapproval have disappeared, and Yin Tianqing's family and friends seem to have accepted me, at least on the surface. Many people who didn't know the truth thought it was because the young lady's love brain was acting up and she had fallen in love with a penniless poor boy. But only we know that our marriage is just a transaction. She pays the money, and I accompany her to play out a seemingly beautiful romantic fairy tale. Yin Tianqing has a childhood sweetheart, who is also the white moonlight she has loved for many years. That person is called Huo Xingxuan. Like Yin Tianqing, he was born into a wealthy family. He's been outstanding since he was a child and is a veritable young master. He is 1 year older than me, with a gentle and considerate personality, and without the aloofness of the wealthy. We met during a competition and quickly became familiar, becoming good friends. It was also through him that I met Yin Tianqing. The first time I saw Yin Tianqing, I was 19 years old in the second semester of my freshman year. That day, I finished my part-time job and was returning to school, just about to enter the school gate when I was suddenly stopped by a girl. The girl tightly grabbed my arm, her eyes red like a rabbit, and said pitifully, "Classmate, my bag was stolen. Can you lend me your phone for a moment?" I need to make a call to someone I know. That girl was Yin Tianqing, and the someone I know she mentioned was naturally Hu Xingchuan. At first, Hu Xingchuan introduced Yin Tianqing as his younger sister. Because she looked young, I thought she was really Hu Xingchuan's younger sister, and I called her sister too. Later, I learned that she was actually a year older than me, the same age as Hu Xingchuan. I didn't pay much attention. After all, it was just a matter of address, but Yin Tianqing cared a lot. She said very seriously to me, "Don't call me sister." At first, I thought she didn't like being called young, but later I understood that she just didn't want to be Hu Xingchuan's sister. I forgot how I found out that Yin Tianqing liked Hu Xingchuan. I only remember that after I exposed her feelings, she blushed and stammered, directly throwing her bag at me as hush money. After that, she started to ask me about Hu Xingchuan from time to time. I refused for a while, but in the end, I shamefully complied. There was no way. She gave too much. So, she provided the money and I provided the labor, and we colluded like paparazzi behind a celebrity, studying Hu Xingchuan from every angle, and even wrote a huge pile of strategy manuals. I had complained countless times, telling Yin Tianqing to directly confess her feelings. But she always said she needed to wait until she could confess to Hu Xingchuan in her best form. This wait led to trouble. Just as Yin Tianqing was spending a lot of time and energy preparing for her confession, Hu Xingchuan eloped with his mysterious lover. No one knew where Hu Xingchuan went. They only knew he left decisively, and the Hu family also announced his disownment. The incident was sudden, and Yin Tianqing was greatly shocked. But she had already announced to the outside world that she was going to confess to the person she liked. The pain of heartbreak, combined with a little self-esteem, made Yin Tianqing turn around and attach that grand confession to me. Did I think it was a pie falling from the sky? Of course not. The gap between Yin Tianqing and me was too big, and as soon as she confessed, a large number of people opposed it. During that time, I was under immense pressure, walking outside trembling with fear, afraid of being ambushed. Everyone was guessing when Miss Yin would kick me aside, but they were disappointed. The young lady's stubbornness lasted a bit long, and in the end, she insisted on getting a marriage certificate with me. The day before the wedding, I tried to persuade her again, saying, "Miss, marriage is not a child's play. What's the big deal about being heartbroken? Don't waste your entire life just to save face. It's not worth it." But she said, "Anyway, I can't marry Hu Xingchuan, so it's the same whoever I marry. We've come this far. If you don't help me, I'll just find someone random to marry." Maybe it was because I couldn't bear to lose the young lady's money, or maybe I couldn't bear to see her really ruin herself, or maybe it was a feeling that even I couldn't explain. In the end, we got married in a daze, and we lived for 5 years in a daze. And now, this farcical marriage was finally coming to an end. Wang Lang, which dress do you think I should wear?" Yin Tianqing stood in front of the mirror, gesturing left and right, unable to choose a satisfying one. I was replying to messages on my phone, glanced casually, and chose the one on the right. "Wear the red one." "You chose so quickly? Did you even look seriously?" Yin Tianqing complained nonstop, but her body was very honest, and she changed into the dress I chose. She ran in front of me and spun around, her eyes a little nervous. "How is it? Does it look good?" "It looks good. Don't lie to me, or I'll get angry." I put down my phone and looked at her seriously. "It really looks good." Perhaps my praise was too direct. She touched the hair at her temple, as if a little shy. But the next second, she widened her eyes and regained her confident look. "Of course. I'm Miss Yin. Of course I look good." Yes, you look the best." I pointed at my watch and reminded her, "Pay attention to the time, miss. Don't be late." "Oh no." She grabbed her bag on the table. Her movements suddenly quickened. She walked to the door, then turned back and waved at me vigorously. "Wang Lang, I'm leaving. I'll report back the results when I return." I also waved back. "Hurry up, or you won't make it." Hearing the sound of the car starting outside, I dropped my smile. I pulled out a cigarette from my pocket and lit it. The smoke blurred my vision, and I couldn't help but laugh self-deprecatingly. I'm probably the most generous husband in the world. My wife went to see her white moonlight, and not only was I not angry, but I even helped her choose clothes and jewelry, smiling the entire time. But what right do I have to be angry? After all, it's something I knew all along. And besides, she's not my wife anymore. Yin Tianqing wasn't a good drinker, and her drinking habits were bad. When she got drunk, she often had memory lapses, and after waking up, she'd forget all the stupid things she had done. But she remembered clearly the matter of divorcing me that day, and within a couple of days, she had her lawyer draft a divorce agreement. She was always generous, giving me more than enough property, to the point that it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that I achieved financial freedom through this divorce. I only glanced at it before signing, because no matter how I looked at it, I wasn't at a loss. After signing and waiting the required time, we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau and obtained our divorce certificate. The process went very smoothly. The day after getting our divorce certificate, which was today, she made plans to confess to her white moonlight. Perhaps having learned from past mistakes, this time she planned to strike quickly, making a swift move as soon as she was single again. Years of deep affection and unchanging devotion. If I were Hu Xingchuan, I would definitely be moved, but unfortunately, I'm not. So Yin Tianqing's confession is destined to fail. After all, the mysterious lover who eloped with Hu Xingchuan back then was a man. When she learns the truth that the white moonlight she's secretly loved for years is the same sexual orientation as herself, I wonder what kind of expression she'll make. She'll probably cry miserably, right? I exhaled a puff of smoke, thinking gloatingly. Who asked her to propose divorce so suddenly, causing me to be fiercely besieged by a bunch of people who didn't know the truth? Let's just call it a little bit of revenge on my part. I really am a bad man. Although I'm a bad man, I can only surrender when it comes to Yin Tianqing. After all, she's my sugar mama. From college until now, she's given me a lot of help. One can't be without conscience, so when she called me crying, I immediately rushed out the door. When I found her, she was sitting on the steps of the park. Her high heels and handbag were tossed aside. Her hair was a mess, her eyes were red, and tears were clinging to her eyelashes. She had her arms wrapped around her knees and was staring straight into the distance, as if she had lost her soul, which was heartbreaking. I walked up to her and squatted down, gently calling out, "Ching Ching, Wong Lao." She called out my name in a hoarse voice. I nodded in response. "I'm here." Her mouth quivered, and she suddenly burst into loud sobs. "Why did you only come now?" Her crying made us the center of attention, and passers-by cast curious glances our way. All right, don't cry. So many people are watching. Mind your own business. I'll cry. I'll cry." As if she was throwing a tantrum, she cried even louder, completely disregarding her image, like a child rolling around on the ground unsatisfied. "Ah, hick, I'm crying. Hick, crying. Hick, what's wrong with that?" Yeah, it's okay. Cry it all out and you'll be fine." I patted her back to help her calm down, while silently thinking to myself, if I were Hu Xingchuan, I could probably say a few words and make her happy. But I'm not her beloved, and no matter how hard I try, I can't make her smile. So I can only silently sit beside her and bear being gawked at by the passers-by along with her. After crying for a while, Yin Tianqing was too exhausted to wail anymore, and she leaned softly on my shoulder. I bet she was secretly using my clothes to wipe her tears and snot. But considering that she was really upset this time, I didn't call her out on it. After letting out her emotions, she felt much better. Her desire to talk was explosive, and she began to ramble about what had happened today. I really didn't want to know where she and Hu Xingchuan had gone or what they had talked about, but I still pretended to listen attentively, giving her responses from time to time. I thought I was doing a pretty good job of acting, but Yin Tianqing, who was usually very easy to fool, suddenly turned on her intelligence, looking at me suspiciously. "Wang Lang, why aren't you surprised?" "Oh? Surprised by what?" "Oh, the fact that Hu Xingchuan likes men." Damn it, miscalculated. I didn't make the right expression. Since I'd been exposed, I couldn't be bothered to hide it anymore, and generously admitted, "Because I knew about this." "You knew?" Yin Tianqing raised her voice, grabbing my arm. "You knew and didn't tell me? Did you want to watch me make a fool of myself?" She was angry. I thought she would yell at me, or get so angry that she would turn and run away, but she didn't. She bit her lip, her eyes red-rimmed, tears streaming down her cheeks drop by drop, full of grievance. This kind of silent crying is the most heart-wrenching. "Why are you crying again?" I raised my hand to help wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes, but she turned her face away, sulking like an inflated pufferfish, and was rather cute. If I said I didn't do it on purpose, would you believe me? This was half true and half false, but Yin Tianqing believed it. She sniffled and sobbed, saying, "Then you have to give me a reasonable explanation, or I definitely won't let you off the hook." I pretended to think for a while, then explained 2 reasons. 1, I only knew a little earlier than you, and I wasn't sure if the news was true. 2, you've wanted to confess to him for so many years. If I suddenly told you not to go, would you agree? Yin Tianqing thought for a moment and said seriously, "No, I wouldn't." Yes, I knew, so I didn't stop her. She had to try, to hit a wall, to finally let go of her obsession of so many years. I was originally worried that she would stir up trouble again after being rejected, like marrying someone at random 5 years ago, but now it seems her emotions are quite stable. "Shall I take you home now?" I picked up Yin Tianqing's shoes and bag that she had thrown aside and squatted down with my back to her. She hesitated for a moment, then climbed onto my back quite skillfully, wrapping her arms around my neck. Wang Lang, let me tell you, I'm still not over it. Oh dear, what should we do? So you better think of a way quick. Otherwise, she was probably really angry, even using a threatening tone, though it still wasn't very intimidating. But I, being agreeable, pretended to be scared and carried her to a roadside cart and negotiated. I'll buy you candied hawthorns. Will you stop being angry? You think you can buy me off with one candied hawthorn? I thought she was right, so I added more. Then how about two? Humph. Okay, that meant she agreed. The old lady selling candied hawthorns had a full head of silver hair. She happily wrapped two candied hawthorns and handed them to us, sighing, "You two are still so close." Yin Tianqing and I were both stunned. She looked closely and exclaimed in surprise, "You're the grandma at the school gate." The old lady was very happy that we remembered her and gave us another candied hawthorn. "Take it. Thank you for taking care of my business in the past. I wish you a long and happy life together." I was a little embarrassed, but ultimately accepted the old lady's kindness. I couldn't tell the old woman that we weren't a couple back then and that we're already divorced now, could I? I was afraid that would shatter the old lady's simple worldview. Yin Tianqing, on the other hand, was quite happy and eagerly started eating. After all these years, it's still the same taste. Be careful, don't get it on me. Mind your own business. Just walk. She finished her candied hawthorns while directing me towards the lake in the park. We circled around the cobblestone path a few times, and I was getting a little tired. Just as I was thinking about how to get the little princess on my back to agree to go home, she suddenly leaned close to my ear and said softly, "Wang Lang, thank you." Oh, has the little miss had a change of heart? Realized she was too much this time. Not just this time, but every time. She corrected me seriously. "Thank you for everything, all these years." A breeze blew across the lake, rippling the water. It suddenly dawned on me that I was 28 years old. So many years have passed. I met Yin Tianqing when I was 19, and in the same year, I realized she had a crush on Hu Xingchuan. She always thought she was hiding it well, but you can't hide your feelings. The way she looked at Hu Xingchuan was always sparkling. She was always unconsciously nervous when facing Hu Xingchuan, and she always appeared around Hu Xingchuan as if by chance, secretly watching him. Hu Xingchuan was too dazzling. There were too many people around him. She was drowned in the crowd of admirers, unnoticed. But I knew. So, when I saw Yin Tianqing hiding behind a tree again, I couldn't help but ask, "Why don't you just confess?" In my opinion, she was beautiful from a good family, and they had a childhood connection. The chances of her confession succeeding were high. She was startled by me. Her face flushed red, and she couldn't say a word. She shoved the bag she was holding into my arms and fled, leaving behind the words "hush money." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I gave the bag to Hu Xingchuan, asking him to return it, considering it a reason for them to meet. Unfortunately, Yin Tianqing was too useless, playing a good hand badly. Despite having the advantage of being his childhood friend, her presence around Hu Xingchuan was not as significant as mine, even though I was a year younger. I remember that there was a time when a very capable senior from the same department openly pursued Hu Xingchuan. Many people were gossiping and watching, saying that they were a perfect match, a match made in heaven. Actually, anyone who was close to Hu Xingchuan knew that he was not interested in that senior. But Yin Tianqing was jealous. She compared herself to the senior, and in despair, she went out to eat supper, trying to suppress her sadness with food. As a result, she got caught in a downpour on her way back to school and tripped, falling miserably. As for how I knew, it was just a coincidence. I just happened to be working at that late-night snack shop and happened to see her fall. Because we knew each other, I asked my boss for leave and carried the injured Yin Tianqing to the hospital on my back. At first, she was strong and silent, but after a few minutes, she couldn't help but cry. Tears dripped onto my neck, cold and clammy. Actually, Senior Wood doesn't like Senior Sister. He rejected her. Really? Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you? Yin Tianqing stopped crying. My back was to her, so I couldn't see her expression, but I thought she must be happy. After walking for a while, she asked cautiously, "You're called Wang Lang, right? Can you tell me some things about Brother Xingchuan?" She was timid, like a rabbit cautiously poking its head out of its burrow. I felt like teasing her, and joked, "Huh? Why should I tell you? I saw you working. Are you short on money? I can give you money." I remained silent. As if realizing something, her fingers gripping my clothes tightened, and she said urgently, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, It's okay." I interrupted her, and picked up the conversation again. "How much can you give me?" She whispered a number, and I almost fell to my knees, struck once again by the inequality of the world. But I really was poor. My parents had passed away in an accident when I was in middle school, leaving only my grandmother and me to rely on each other. They hadn't left much money, and my grandmother's health wasn't good. I was able to grow up safely and get into university, partly due to the help of kind people around me, and partly because I was a good student and didn't spend much on school. Hearing the price Tianqing mentioned, my last bit of hesitation disappeared. I apologized to Senior Hua in my heart and officially became Miss Yin's spy. I not only carefully observed Hua Xingchuan's preferences and the pursuers around him and reported them to her, but I also brought her to Hua Xingchuan's gatherings under the guise of friendship and even occasionally created some alone time for them. I thought I was doing a great job, but unfortunately, Tianqing was useless. She dragged it out for so many years and was still just a younger sister in Hua Xingchuan's eyes. In fact, because she got close to Hua Xingchuan, he often used me as an excuse, which led some people to misunderstand our relationship. After being teased, she complained to me, "Why is this happening? What if Brother Xingchuan also misunderstands? Miss, it's not my fault. I didn't say anything. I've explained it, but what can I do if people don't believe me? Why don't you just confess? That way no one will misunderstand." But the moment confession was mentioned, she wilted again. "Forget it. Let's not contact each other for a while and wait for the situation to calm down. If someone says something bad, you have to explain it for me." After leaving those words, she really didn't contact me for a long time. Even my roommate was curious. "What happened to the girl who was always with you? Did you guys break up?" "Break up? We were never that kind of relationship." My roommate smiled lewdly, clearly not believing me, and I was too lazy to explain it again and again. Tianqing and I were impossible. In time, they would naturally understand. My grandmother got sick, and all of our savings were spent, but she didn't get better. Without Miss Yin spending money, my income shrank a lot. In order to make money, I started my hard life working again. Through an introduction, I got a job as a waiter in a restaurant. That restaurant wasn't much to rich people, but for poor students like me, it was the epitome of luxury. If I hadn't been working there, I probably would never have even gone near it in my life. Perhaps I was unlucky, but only half a month into the job, I ran into my nemesis. That person was my classmate, a rich second generation. I had once rejected his application for financial aid, and then, due to academic matters and other issues, conflicts had accumulated between us. From then on, he had unilaterally considered me his mortal enemy. I thought he was making a big fuss over nothing and usually tried to avoid him, but fate was inescapable, and we met here. In front of a table full of people, he was deliberately making things difficult for me, saying that the water temperature was wrong 1 minute and that the food didn't taste good the next. The main goal was to find fault, determined not to let me have an easy time. I ran back and forth so many times that even the supervisor began to show displeasure towards me. Anyone could see that I was being deliberately targeted, but no one spoke up. The wealthy second generation and the powerless, poor student, everyone knew which side to choose. Perhaps he was losing interest in me being so obedient. He pointed at a bottle of white wine on the table and said with a smirk, "How about this? You drink one with the brothers. And after you finish it, we'll let your poor service this time slide. How does that sound?" I stood frozen in place for a long time, but eventually I picked up the bottle of wine. Drinking a bottle of wine to make things easier for myself wasn't so bad. Besides, this wine was quite expensive. I definitely couldn't afford it myself. It was a bargain. I picked up the wine bottle, opened it, and was just about to gulp it down when a slender white arm reached out and grabbed my wrist. Wang Lang, don't drink. Tianqing, whom I hadn't seen for days, stood beside me, her beautiful eyes blazing with anger. She snatched the bottle of wine from my hand and splashed it onto the table of the wealthy second generation. "Holy crap! Who are you? What are you doing?" The wealthy second generation was hopping mad, cursing and swearing, threatening to make us pay. Tianqing didn't flinch at all, took out her phone and made a call, hanging up after a few words. She stood in front of me, slamming the table hard. "Come on, this Annie is right here waiting. See how you're going to mess with me." The wealthy second generation, pointing a finger at her nose, was about to start cursing when his phone suddenly rang. He glanced at it, overjoyed, and said, "You're finished," before answering the call, only to be immediately bombarded with a barrage of curses from the other end. At the same time, the restaurant manager, sweating profusely, finally arrived, fussing over Tianqing and asking if she was all right. The scene was too chaotic, my mind was blank, and I couldn't do anything but stand there like a fool. In the end, the arrogant, wealthy second generation changed his tune on the spot, licking his boots and apologizing to us, even calling me Brother Wang. The blind manager suddenly regained his sight and apologized to me, telling me to let him know next time I encountered difficult customers. I seemed to become the center of attention, surrounded by everyone, but I couldn't hear a word they were saying. Looking at Tianqing's petite back, I thought she was unbelievably cool at that moment. When the restaurant manager respectfully saw us out, my mind was still blank, and I just mechanically followed Yin Tianqing. She criticized me, frustrated. Wang Lang, what's wrong with you? How can you let people bully you like that? I snapped out of it, put on my usual smile, and said nonchalantly, it was just some drinks, it's no big deal. What drinks? Can't you see? He was just bullying you. She stomped her feet, hands on her hips, like an angry bird. I couldn't understand why she was so angry. I wasn't even that bothered myself, but she was my sugar mama, and she had helped me out, so I wouldn't be ungrateful. I put my hands together in a gesture of respect, lowering my gaze. Okay, don't be angry. Thank you, miss, for standing up for me. Let's not get angry over those small-minded people, all right? Humph. Yin Tianqing's expression was still sour as she kicked a stone on the ground. She hesitated for a few seconds, then hesitantly asked, Wang Lang, are you short on money lately? Yeah, super short. I was always honest about this because there are two things in the world that never stay in place. One of them is poverty. Then why didn't you tell me? Hearing Yin Tianqing's accusation, I didn't know how to respond. After all, our relationship was essentially one of employment. If I went too far and tried to borrow money from my employer, it would be incredibly inappropriate. My silence didn't shut her up. She tugged on my sleeve, and when I looked down, she met my eyes, her gaze serious. Wang Lang, you're my good friend. If you need anything, you have to tell me. I will definitely help you. My nose tingled, and I suddenly felt like crying. How embarrassing. I looked up at the sky, trying not to let the tears fall. Yin Tianqing pinched the soft flesh on my waist, dissatisfied. What do you mean? Say something. Sorry, I was wrong. I'm just too touched. Not sincere at all. She reached out to tickle me, but I dodged her nimbly. We playfully fought, and the previous unpleasantness disappeared in laughter. But when fate wants to make things difficult, it doesn't show any mercy. My phone rang. It was from the hospital. My grandmother's condition had suddenly worsened, and she was in the emergency room. I frantically hailed a taxi to the hospital. Standing outside the emergency room, looking at the emergency treatment sign, my limbs went cold. I told myself to calm down, but my entire body wouldn't listen to me. I couldn't even hear what the doctor was saying to me. In the end, Yin Tianqing helped me. The usually confused little girl became incredibly reliable, helping me complete payment and signing forms as instructed by the doctors, and sitting with me, crouching at the door of the emergency room. The hospital at night was cold, but Yin Tianqing was warm, and she leaned against me, her warmth transferring to me. I couldn't help but hug her, resting my head on her shoulder. The tears that I had finally managed to hold back started to pour out uncontrollably. So embarrassing. She didn't laugh at me, and she didn't push me away. She patted my back clumsily and whispered, It's okay. Wang Lang, don't be scared, everything will be all right. I didn't say anything, just tightened my arms around her. I hugged her, as if I was hugging the sun. I knew the sun didn't belong to me, but at this moment she was by my side. It was a close call, but my grandmother was fine, and with Yin Tianqing's help, my financial burden was also much lighter. I didn't know how to repay her, so I could only try harder to help her strategize her pursuit of love and rack my brains to make her happy. Because of her sticking up for me, no one in school bothered me anymore. In fact, many people tried to get close to me. Although some people gossiped behind my back, calling me a kept man, I didn't care. They were just sour grapes. Being the young Mrs. Number One lackey came with such good treatment. I couldn't bear to let it go. I knew that I wasn't in the same world as Yin Tianqing, but that didn't matter. Even if it was for a short time, being able to stay by her side and repay her for her help was enough for me. I was doing a very good job as her number one lackey. When she was sad, I was the first to comfort her. When she was happy, I was the first to offer my blessings. When her love dreams shattered, I was there to help her heal her wounds. When she had the urge to start a business, I accompanied her everywhere she went. But I couldn't be with her forever, so I set a time for myself. The day the young miss got tired of playing the perfect marriage game and was able to walk out of her heartbreak and start living a happy life again, that's when I would leave. I thought that day would come quickly, but from the time we met until now, 9 years had passed. I thought that day was still far away. But now, it seemed like the time had come. The young miss had grown up, and it was time for me to leave as well. Wang Lang, where have you been? Has there been a lot going on at school lately? Why haven't you been home? When I received Yin Tianqing's call, my application to study abroad had already been approved. All the paperwork was done. I was just waiting for the time to get on the plane. While putting a label on the box in my hand, I replied, Ching, we're divorced. So what? Does that mean you're going to ignore me? That's not what I mean. I mean, we're divorced, so we shouldn't live together anymore. She seemed to be choked up, paused for a few seconds, and then shouted, Hey, how annoying. I knew I shouldn't have gotten a divorce. It's so annoying. Lately, my parents and Jingjing and them keep nagging me, asking me why I got a divorce. It's so annoying. I knew exactly what she meant because I was being asked by a bunch of people why we got divorced as well. It seemed everyone was pitying us, just like how 5 years ago, everyone had disapproved of us getting married. It's okay, let them talk. It'll be fine in a while. I tried to reassure In Tianqing, chatting with her like a friend. What are you planning to do now? It's impossible with Senior Hua. What kind of person are you looking for next? Wang Lang, I want to hit you. Why do you have to bring up sore topics? My maiden heart has taken a big hit. Ah, I'm really sorry. But seeing that you don't seem too heartbroken, I'm relieved. You're talking like I'm a kid. She grumbled, sighing a long sigh, her voice somewhat melancholy. To be honest, I never thought that so many years of liking him would end up like this. But now I feel more relaxed. In the future, I'll probably start a new relationship happily. Is that so? Then if you start a new relationship, would you consider me? My fingertips gripping the phone turned a little white, and I held my breath, nervously. The world became silent, and all I could hear was the sound of my heart pounding in my chest. Thump, thump. There was silence on the other end of the phone, and after a while, Ian Tianqing's lively voice came. Wang Lang, you're so annoying. If you make this kind of joke again, I'll crawl through the internet and smash your dog head. Ah, I knew it would be like this. Actually, I had said similar things several times before, but each time she would change the subject. I didn't know if she really didn't understand or if she was just pretending not to, but it didn't matter anymore. I chuckled. Okay, I won't say it anymore. I won't say it again in the future. We chatted for a while longer, and then Yin Tianqing changed the subject, excitedly proposing. Wang Lang, let's go on a trip. Let's relax and get away from my parents and their nagging. She was always impulsive like this. In the past, I'd almost never rejected her, but now I had to say no. I can't, Ching Ching, I have to go. She paused for a moment, her tone turning urgent. Go? Where are you going? Did someone bully you? Tell me. I'll help you get even. She was still the same as before, always afraid that I would get bullied and saying that she would help me get even. Because of this, my grandmother would always poke my head and say I was too soft, making my wife worry. Then, she would take my hand and tell me to treat her well. In the blink of an eye, it had been 2 years since my grandmother passed away. She really liked Yin Tianqing and had always thought that we had married out of love. She was very happy when she left, with a smile on her lips. Thank goodness. If she had known that we got divorced, she probably would have worried. I took a deep breath and slowly said, no one bullied me. Ching Ching, I'm going abroad to study. It will probably be 3 years. I'll be pretty busy. I won't be able to be with you in the future. I didn't say this, but I knew she understood. Wang Lang, you're such a jerk. She yelled angrily, her tone a bit high, and I couldn't help but move my phone away. When I brought the phone back to my ear, all I heard was a beeping sound. The call had ended. I sighed, tossed the phone aside, and slumped onto the stool as if I'd lost all my strength. Looking at the ceiling above, I told myself, it's over. I had lied to Yin Tianqing many times, mostly about minor, harmless things. There were only 2 serious lies. The first was about Hua Xingchuan. Back then, he had left decisively, cutting off contact with everyone. But when I was 26, we met by chance. Hua Xingchuan was still the image of a wealthy young master, excellent even without his family's influence, successful in his career, surrounded by countless admirers. He was actually still young, but his eyes held a lingering sense of vicissitude. Only then did I learn that his sudden disappearance back then was truly because he had eloped, because his lover was a man, and his family wouldn't accept it. Unfortunately, in the end, it wasn't the fallen young master who let go, but the person who had pulled him into the mortal world. I could do nothing but offer empty words of comfort, only saying to contact me if he needed anything. We resumed contact after that, but I didn't tell Yin Tianqing, because at that time, she hadn't mentioned Hua Xingchuan for a long time, and her career was thriving. I thought that if I tried harder, I could help her completely move on from her youthful obsession and embrace a new life with me. I overestimated myself. 2 years of effort yielded no progress. My multiple confessions were rejected mercilessly. When she mentioned her beloved, she still spoke of Hua Xingchuan. But people always have to move forward. So I contacted Hua Xingchuan, asking him for a favor. His grand return was actually at my request. I wanted Yin Tianqing to sever her obsession, and I wanted to give myself one last chance. Now the ending was set. I admitted defeat. The second matter was about myself. I deliberately didn't tell Yin Tianqing my departure time, even using people we both knew to give her the wrong time. But she still came when I was about to board the plane. She had run in a hurry, her hair messed up by the wind, bending over to gasp for air. Wang Lang, you bastard. But I still came to see you off out of loyalty. Happy now? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, reaching out to fix her hair, but in the end, I couldn't resist messing it up again. It's my honor that Miss came to see me off. But I'm about to board the plane, so let's stop here. Ching Ching, I have to go now. You should go back too. And remember not to look back. Humph. Are you afraid of being too reluctant to leave? Yeah, so don't look back. I gave her a quick hug, quickly letting go, and turned to walk into the crowd. Well, now, hearing her call my name, I raised my hand and waved, not looking back. The girl I'd liked for so long was about to start a new life, and I had to keep moving forward too. So, goodbye. Extra. Yin Tianqing. On the day Wang Lang left, Yin Tianqing went to see him off. He was smiling, no different from usual, but Yin Tianqing felt a sense of unease. But what was there to be uneasy about? Wang Lang was just going abroad, not going to a funeral. How hard could it be to meet up again? But she just felt uneasy. She loudly called Wang Lang's name, and he waved at her, but he didn't look back. At that moment, she suddenly wanted to cry. If she was unhappy, she'd vent. She immediately called up her girlfriends and went to her usual bar for drinks. She didn't drink often, but when she was with her friends, she always couldn't help having a couple of drinks. She was the type who was bad at it but loved to do it. Wang Lang often criticized her, yet he couldn't do anything about it. Each time, he would grumble as he picked up the drunker and would resignedly make her hangover soup when they got home. Occasionally, watching Wang Lang's busy figure, Yin Tianqing would think that they would be quite nice together just like that. But the next second, she would shake her head vigorously, shaking off her unrealistic thoughts. The person she liked was Hui Xingchuan. She was a devoted person and wouldn't change her heart so easily. Moreover, Wang Lang wasn't with her because of love. Although her friends called him the epitome of a devoted husband, and he would occasionally tease her with words of liking, Yin Tianqing knew it was because Wang Lang was a dedicated actor. He had always been dedicated. That trait was apparent from the day they met. She knew it. Wang Lang was her good friend, a dedicated actor. Nothing more. Nothing more. Those 4 words echoed in her mind, and Yin Tianqing accidentally drank too much again. Her stomach felt a little uncomfortable, so she subconsciously dialed a familiar number. When she found that the call couldn't be connected, she realized that he was probably on the plane now and wouldn't be able to answer her call. She suddenly felt very wronged. Ching Ching, are you okay? Feeling unwell? Never mind. Let me take you home first. Yin Tianqing didn't refuse her best friend Liang Huan's kindness. The latter hadn't been drinking and drove her home. But when the car arrived at the door, she suddenly didn't want to go in. This was the place where she and Wang Lang had lived together. But now Wang Lang had moved out, leaving only her. She sat in the passenger seat, stubbornly refusing to move. Liang Huan didn't rush her, sitting with her in the car, quietly spacing out. Yin Tianqing thought about how when news of her divorce from Wang Lang had spread, everyone around her had come to ask why, most trying to persuade her to reconcile. Only Liang Huan said nothing. Just like 5 years ago when she had decided to marry Wang Lang, many people had scolded her for being a love brain. The other person still said nothing. She couldn't help but ask, Sister Huan, about me and Wang Lang. Don't you want to ask why? Liang Huan smiled, her tone light. Ching Ching, everyone should be responsible for their own choices. Whether it was getting married or getting divorced, it was Yin Tianqing's own decision, so she should bear the consequences herself. She went back into the house, her head feeling dizzy. Yin Tianqing felt that what Liang Huan said had a deeper meaning. It seemed she had indeed borne the consequences, but what consequences? She hadn't lost anything, except for that failed youthful infatuation. But that was already in the past, and she didn't feel that heartbroken. She yawned, kicked off her high heels, and collapsed on the sofa. The moment she lay down, she noticed that the coffee table drawer wasn't closed tightly. She casually pulled it open and found a photo album inside. It recorded the past few years of her life. Photos from when the studio was founded, photos from traveling, and before that, photos from college. So many people appeared in them. Some she remembered, some she had forgotten. The one who appeared most often was Wang Lang. So they had so many memories. She thought Hui Xingchuan was her youth, but in the photos of her youth, the person who appeared most often was Wang Lang. Yin Tianqing's eyes felt hot, and she raised her hand to fan herself. It was no use. She stood up, walked barefoot to the refrigerator, wanting to grab a bottle of cold water to cool herself down, but opened it to see a candied hawthorn stick inside. It was the one Wang Lang had bought her before. One stick was left uneaten and had been frozen in the refrigerator. When you're in a bad mood, eating something sweet will make you happy. Wang Lang often said that, and he often bought her candied hawthorns. Actually, she didn't like them that much at first, but maybe because she was fed them so often, candied hawthorns became one of her favorite snacks. The one in the fridge, could she still eat it? Yin Tianqing hesitated for a few seconds, peeled off the wrapper, and put the candied hawthorn stick in her mouth. The moment she bit into the sugar coating, tears fell one by one. Wang Lang, this candied hawthorn isn't sweet at all.